Welcome to the 5-Year You podcast, a show dedicated to helping you become the best version of yourself one day at a time. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Kat, and we promise to keep it raw, real, and relatable.
Are you ready to grow? High Five Tribe. Today's episode is called How to Solve Money Problems. I'm Andrew, and with me always is Kat. How are you doing today, Kat?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's been a few weeks since we've been in the studio, and it's really nice to be back. It's feeling right, and I think this is a really good topic to get into. And solving money problems is something that we all deal with. I mean, I don't know of anybody that's not trying to solve some kind of money problem in their life.
Sure.
So when it comes to money and how we feel about everything around it, what would you say is kind of the biggest money problem most people face? You're the financial writer, you're the financial expert. So
Well, you're the accountant. You're the financial expert.
I like deferring this to her right away, where I'm like, it is.
Sure. Well, just to give some background, Andrew is a CPA and I published a money book. But that doesn't mean that we're experts on everything that has to do with money. We've both been through plenty of highs and lows when it comes to money. And on 5-Year You, we always like to teach people to live from the inside out. Some of the things that we always sort of push or present on these episodes is living the life that you actually want to live, not the life society dictates. We encourage people to think beyond what we're told to want and told to think as a way to find happiness, find calm, and find some clarity in life. And money, like it or not, is a huge part of that. And as a financial writer, I write over 20 articles every month about a lot of different money topics, from, travel to tariffs, the economy, to the value of the dollar dropping, to insurance. I mean, it just about every topic there is. And I have to read a lot of different studies. And it seems that over the last year or two, people are very stressed about the cost of daily life. I think people, families, people with young kids, always worry about the cost of daycare and the cost of this and the cost of that. But over the last 2 years, I think that everyday people have really noticed it hitting home at the grocery store, at the gas stations, just in bills going up, insurance prices going up. And I think people are they're worried and they're stressed about how they're just going to afford to live, let alone, oh, I want to give my kids a great life. I want to send my family on this great vacation. I think that a lot of the money problems in North America right now are very centered on the individual currently.
I would agree with that. I would say the last couple of years have gotten quite a bit more expensive just on the basis of, like I said, gas, food, and whatnot. So when it comes to this, like solving a money problem, like we kind of kept this episode a little bit general because there's always a money problem to solve. And having this framework that we're going to share with you in a few minutes is going to be useful just to kind of break it all down. But apart from the general economy, what would you say are some of the factors that bring somebody into a money problem?
Well, I think that in general, the very first thing that comes to mind, and we kind of break this down into 3 parts to solving any money problem. And part 1 is just sort of like to get honest about what the problem is. It's going to be different for people. I mean, I think there's certain situations where there's been mass layoffs and things like that. But there are people who can survive a layoff because they have an emergency fund and savings and investments. And there are other people who have lived paycheck to paycheck, and a layoff will completely destroy their ability to live and provide for their families. So getting honest with the problem, looking within yourself and thinking like, is it a spending problem? Is it a debt problem? And trying to find the solution within yourself. Because I think a lot of us get kind of frustrated. I know I do. I'm often like, oh, well, if this hadn't happened in my life, or if this hadn't happened with this client, I would have this, I would be here if I would have started investing then. But sort of getting honest with myself and saying like, hey, you can sit and worry about all the things that could have happened over the last 20 years, or you can sit here as your 38-year-old self and say, what can I do today? And so I think sort of taking accountability, even if you're angry, that's fine, that's valid. But taking accountability, like, look, the world looks different right now. I might not be able to spend what I spent last year and get the same amount of groceries. I might not be able to take my kids on that trip this year because, whatever, my spouse got laid off, and just sort of acknowledging the problem and working around it, I think is is a good place to start.
I agree. I think when we're talking about solving money problems, you have to identify the problem. And there's a lot of research that has gone into when you can succinctly and clearly identify what the problem is on paper, your brain can start working towards it. It's when you have this kind of airy idea of what the problem kind of is, which is always, I need more money, I think is the default mode for most of
Always.
us. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
if I had more money, then everything would be solved. But that doesn't address, your brain can't necessarily do that. But if you give your brain a task like, I need to figure out how to put $1,000 in my emergency fund, your brain can start kind of going at that problem at a different way that just the kind of general money, I have a money problem, won't help with. So I think there's some pretty common money problems. So I'm just going to bring them up because I think part of this is that there's so much shame around money and
Yeah.
struggle and all this. And I think we all do it really silently. And one of the things that I am working on is ask for help when I need it, but to kind of bring these things into light, because I think a lot of times we suffer in silence. And when that happens, the suffering grows. So one of the biggest ones is debt, of course. We all have debt that we have to pay off, and it feels very burdensome. Another one can be what we mentioned just before was having an emergency fund, needing to have that, like, they say 6 months of spending, but even just to get like $500, $1,000 into your spending, into an emergency fund. It's another very typical money problem that most of us are struggling with. Binge spending or boredom spending, as I call it, where it's like, I'm bored, I'm going to go online and just add something to a cart and buy it, even though I probably don't need it, and I'm not going to care when it happens. It gives you that little dopamine hit, and then you have shame after that because you're like, why did I buy this thing that I didn't really need, and I don't really have the money to be spending on that kind of stuff right now. These are all things that most of us, and I would dare to say all of us, struggle with at one time or another, and some of us on a daily basis because it's so prevalent in society. So I just want to make sure that listener, that this is really, really normal to be experiencing, and there's no shame in any of it.
Yep, that's extremely common. Like I said, I read a lot of studies for work, and the vast majority of people don't have an emergency fund. It's hard to have that these days. It seems like expenses pop up all the time: house, car, kids. I mean, just so many different things. I don't have to tell anyone listening just about the random things that pop up in life. And a lot of people have debt every single year. The total amount of credit card debt in the United States grows like by the millions of dollars. And it's because people are having a hard time affording their daily life, and credit cards provide the gap. And the way that our society works, the way that credit is easily given, easily used. Even, now DoorDash has instituted like split up your pizza payment into 4 payments. I mean,
Goodness.
everything, I know, everything everywhere is sort of designed to make us think that it's easier, but really it makes it so much harder on the consumer and the family. It's interesting. See, now people are getting to see like the nerd outside of me. One study I read, I think it was from Fidelity, but don't quote me, said that when people have at least $2,000 saved in an emergency fund, the amount of times that they think and worry about money is dropped by like 40 or 50%. Like,
Wow.
just having the a little bit of savings makes people worry less. And security is so important. Like for me, I'm a solo parent. I'm raising these kiddos, and I'm responsible for all of my bills and my life and food and all these different things. And I know for me, when I have money saved, I feel less stressed, because you get that sort of panic, when you have to fix a car or when something happens with a kid, and, you create the cycle again and again and again. And pretty much the only way to kill credit card debt is to have the emergency fund to draw from so that you don't keep going back into it. And that kind of brings me to part two, Andrew. Is like, that is getting honest with the problem. But part two is creating a temporary plan. And I think a lot of people like, oh, I don't want a second job. I have little kids. I can't go, do Uber or deliver pizzas. Like I'm going to miss time with my family and all this stuff. It's like to kill some of these things or to create $2,000 of space, your life only has to suck for a little bit of time, like a couple months. And so I want people to know that, getting to these next rungs in the personal finance ladder, it doesn't have to be like you can't eat at a restaurant for the rest of your life. I'm talking like head down, couple months, put the 2000 away, instantly stop worrying about half the time. Couple months, knock 1,000, 2,000 off the credit card debt. Just head down, little bit of time. So part one is identifying where your problem is. Is it what you're spending? Is it what you're earning? Is it the debt payments? Is it the minimum payments? How can we move things around? How can we solve it? And part two is just dedicating yourself to the temporary pain, not the life sentence.
Yeah, I think that's a really important part to remember because we have a really, I don't know if it's just me and you and everybody else I know, but it feels like most people tend to think of this moment as how it's always going to be. And it never is, but we do have that bias where we look at things and we're like, well, I don't want to get a part-time job. I don't want to be working nights for the next 30 years. And it's like, you're not. You're going to work, like you said, you're going to work for a few months, maybe a year to get yourself in a place where you feel better. And there is like a duality that happens when you work more, you spend less because you don't have the time to go spend more. So it
That's true.
compounds itself. I think that is a really, really important thing to remember is that it is not permanent. You are on a side quest. You are on a mini mission right now to go do this thing so that you feel better in the long term. I mean, you can use a lot of different examples, but when it comes to any kind of journey, it's identifying it. Step one, write it out. Go, this is my money problem right now. I need to have $2,000 in my emergency fund. I need to have this. I need to have a plan for this. And once you do that, understand that the plan is not forever. It's just going to get you there. But the nice part about the plan too is that it changes who you are in that. And I think that's a really important distinction. Anytime you've gone on a debt payoff journey or a savings journey for a trip or anything else, you eliminate things that you probably knew you could eliminate before, but until you had the purpose, the mission, you didn't do it. And that is something that I think is really vital to the whole journey of this. So it's not forever, but you will be
Yeah.
happier that you did it.
It's interesting. One of the only times in recent history that the collective credit card debt in America went down and the collective savings went up was during the pandemic. And it's because people were at home. You didn't have Instagram influencers saying, here's my Amazon haul for the summer. Here's my Amazon haul for this Saturday. Here's my Amazon haul for this. Buy all of these dresses that are $20. And no one was going anywhere. No one was going out to eat. No one was influencing anybody. And then there were all of these stimulus checks so that people would actually spend something. And then a lot of people use those checks to build their savings and to pay down debt. It's so interesting that one of the hardest times that we've had as a society was one of the best financially because none of us were impacted by what everyone else was doing and by marketing because a lot of people were home. And so if you could sort of like mimic that and kind of get back to the basics and get back to like, well, let me just pretend as though I don't have, a Walmart or a Target to walk around, as though I don't have restaurants to go to. Like, what can I do at home? What do I have to wear? Even your mom the other day was like, yeah, I just pulled this. I'm like, that sweater's so cute. And she was like, yeah, I just pulled it from the back of my closet. I've been shopping my closet. I mean, we all have so many things, right? And it's like, what do we already have that we can use? Again, temporarily
Yeah, it's not forever.
to get to a better spot.
Absolutely. I love it. I think there's so many things that the pandemic thing, I think another thing that kind of drove people to save was a fear of the unknown, right? Nobody
Yeah.
knew what was going to happen next in the beginning. And because of that, a lot of us were like, okay, well, we better not spend. And yeah, I mean, there were times where, going to the grocery store was like a 3 hour outing because you had to wait in line to get in and everything else. So it was just a different time. But you can recreate similar things with less stress in your brain, where it's like, you know what, we're gonna we both have money goals right now. We're like, you know what, we're just gonna live like we're university students, broke university students right now, and just, we're gonna use the streaming service as our entertainment, and we're gonna read books and use the library, and we're not gonna eat out, we're just gonna make food, we're gonna do the things that, all these, they're all little things, but they all add up, because when you're not going out to a movie, and like, let me just say this, movies have gotten ridiculously expensive in the theaters.
My gosh.
Like, it's, yeah, it's to be taken
They
out alone, so bad.
It's crazy. I thought I was gonna treat the twins to, like, a cute experience. I'm like, "You know what? This theater near me is so cute, and they, like, deliver hamburgers to your thing. I bet the twins would like that. It would take care of dinner and the movie all in one." It's $90 for the 3 of us, for
Yeah.
3 movie tickets, and the littlest salad for me and burgers for them. I was like, 90. I was like, "This is a very expensive date, you guys." Like, this is like, oh my gosh. But yeah,
Yeah.
I know. And live within your boundaries. Cause I remember earlier in the summer, you're like, do you want to take a trip this summer? We could just like do it like college students. And I was like, how much like college students? What are you talking about? What do
I got
you
a,
mean?
I got a sleeping bag and a car that can almost fit us if we lie down on the back of the seats down. No.
I'm like, you're going to have to define that a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I think that, again, making it a challenge. And one thing, Andrew, is I think that money stress, and like we're joking right now, but money stress is very debilitating. Like it keeps
It
people up
is.
at night. And so I think that, getting motivated, I always say light the first log. This is how I treat my work. This is how I tell my kids. This is how I make myself start cleaning. You just got to do the first thing. Getting from 0 to 1 is the hardest step. Going from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, easy. But motivating yourself to list the one thing on Marketplace, to apply to the one job in town to work on Saturdays, just setting up the automatic transfer to savings for $5 from your paycheck. The 0 to 1 is the hardest step. But after
It
that,
is.
once you're like on the train, it's moving.
Yeah, something that I'd like to do an episode on, about being your own best friend. But I think a big part of this kind of ties into what you just said, where if Catherine was just talking right now and you're like, oh, that's only $5, or I can't do that, or that's so little, and you have that little negative, whiny voice in the background, I'm trying not to swear right now, but if you have that voice in your head, I would strongly urge you to start nurturing a voice of compassion in your head for what you're doing, and have a cheerleader in your head. Because most of us have that voice that's just tearing us down all the time. And it's much nicer the more you can adopt this voice that's like, yeah, I can do that. I can do the
Yeah.
$5 transfer. I can do this. And then congratulating yourself on doing it.
Yeah.
Because the more positive reinforcement you do to this stuff, the better you're going to feel and the more you're going to want to take action. So I think
You
that's a
guys
really,
would be
really big thing.
surprised. You really would be
So,
surprised. I mean, the term like debt sprinkle is not my term, but it's something I learned on Instagram. There was an account that paid off over $30,000 of debt with payment sprinkles. Like she'd sell something for $27 and everything kind of went in her like sprinkle account. And she paid off her debt in little micro payments like that. And it's like, they don't feel like a lot, but enough sprinkles, you got a good cupcake.
well, and you don't miss it, right? You don't miss $27 that you just got that goes straight onto the debt. You don't miss it because it never really gets into the system, into your spending system. That's something I've done for debt payoffs too, is just, kind of adopting the anything goes in the bucket. So if you find a dime, well, I'm going to put that in the pay down, and when I can transfer it over, like, it's, you get really granular with it. But that I love the expression debt sprinkle. That is such a good one.
Yeah, I really, really like it. Okay, Andrew, let's move to part 3. So again, part 1 was kind of getting honest with the problem. Is it your spending? Is it the saving? Is it the job? What is it? And then being honest with yourself and taking accountability, realizing that lots of things are creating this situation worldwide, but what can you do about it? Part 2 is to create the temporary plan, not the life sentence, right? How long do we have to put our heads down to get the initial savings, the initial ball rolling? But then part 3 is the long term solution.
Yeah. So part three is going to be, kind of adopting new money habits as you go along. So when you're doing this part-term plan or the short-term plan, being able to kind of look at it and think, okay, I am doing this for this reason, and maybe I need to just track my spending just a little bit more to do this. Maybe I need to find ways to generate a little more income. Maybe I need to look for a new job, period, because I'm being underpaid for what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the longer term solutions that we're looking at that point. There's, as you grow through whatever money journey you're going to grow through right now, that solving your money problem, the next part of it really is becoming a different person as you go through it. And that's going to happen day by day, step by step. But that really is looking at the long term solution and going, or the long term, yeah, long term solution and looking at it and going, what do I want this to really look like down the road? Once this little quest is over, and I'm not trying to belittle it, but like we really are trying to keep it mentally small in our heads. What do I want the rest of the journey to look like? What do I want to look like financially? What do I want to be financially? And do I want to have, how much do I want in my emergency fund? Do I want to learn about investing? What do I want to do? Do I need to get a side hustle? Do I need to get a new job?
Yeah. And look, I wish that we had a solution for how to make all money problems go away. But what's interesting is that even very wealthy people worry about money. There was a study I read about high net worth women, people with over $1 million of net worth, and many of them still had what they described as bag lady syndromes. Like the more they had, the more they worried that they would lose it all. And so even people who have a ton of money, they then worry about losing it. But I will say that the more you get a handle on money, the more you understand it, the more you understand your own patterns, the smaller the money problems get. And, you were saying with the pandemic and everything, people were saving a lot because the world was uncertain. But the truth is that we were always living in uncertainty. We live in
Mm.
uncertainty every day. It's just our paradigm that we believe that each day is going to be the same. We're going to wake up in the same place or whatever. But the truth is that it's always uncertain. And so we can always only do what we can to feel confident and secure in our day to day and take care of our families, right? But I will say that thinking about that long term plan, think about the mental health aspect of it. How do you want to feel about your money long term? How do you want to look back and be proud of yourself or the little steps you took, the sprinkles you took, the extra work that you did that was all temporary to build the habits that you have now? You would be surprised at what you can accomplish in a little amount of time. And
I like it. I like it. Let's just talk quickly about some pitfalls that people are going to fall into when they're doing this. And I think when we go on this using these three steps, the first thing is that we try to do too much at once. It's never, I'm going to put money into my emergency fund. It's, I'm going to put money into my emergency fund. And I'm also going to pay down this credit card. And then I'm also going to save for the kids. And I'm going to do all these things at once. And I think when you are starting out, that is a very normal way to feel like I got to do everything at once.
mm,
The way I've always looked at it is you can't ride two horses at once, but if you get on one horse and you ride it properly, you'll get done the race faster and then you can start the next race. It's when you try to jump from horse to horse to horse that you don't actually move as far forward as you think you're moving. It feels better because your mind is busier, but it's really not the case. And it's just your ego fighting the simplicity of it.
I like that. And I would say that not getting help or support, I mean, money shame is rampant. People really, really don't like talking about money. We are so weird in that we talk about it all the time. But you'll find if you can find someone who you know is like a nice, supportive person or someone you admire who maybe is good with their money, asking for their advice is really good. I ask Andrew for advice all the time for little and big decisions. When I was deciding to sell my house, which most people would have told me not to do because I had a 3.1% interest rate and all of this stuff, I was having a really hard time affording it on my own. I gave Andrew my budget and I gave him my house costs and I said, I hate to admit it, but I think I have to sell the house. Like, can you confirm? And Andrew was like, yeah, the math is not mathing. You got to sell the house. I'm like, that's what I thought. I just wanted to run it by you because if I would have listened to like everyone else and everyone rented out and all this stuff, but I had to do what was best for me and my mental health. And that's what I ended up doing. So getting the advice of someone that you trust, who's kind, I think is a huge part of it.
Yeah. And lastly, I think this one is very, very common for most of us. It's quitting when or quitting too soon, or quitting when it gets uncomfortable. Every journey, when you are starting something new, when you start putting money towards something that isn't for your fun or, enjoyable things, you're going to feel this grossness inside. You're going to be like, this is boring. This sucks. I don't like this. And everybody goes through that. It's a very, very normal thing to feel. I've gone through it. I know, Kat, you've gone through it too. And when we go through that, it's just part of the process. And the more you settle into it, it's going to be okay. But just know that that's going to come up. Is you're going to want to quit in the beginning, because it's like dieting. It's like exercise. In the beginning, it's a little painful, and you just need to stick it out. Always keep that end goal in mind when you're starting stuff out, because you're going to feel so much better when you have that $2,000 in your emergency fund, when you have the debt paid off. There is a new life for you on the other side of that. And part of it is having that money, but the other part of it is who you become in that process, and that growth that you're experiencing. That part that makes you want to quit is your ego kind of trying to keep you in lockstep of where you've always been. So just know that that's going to come up too, most likely.
And expect a little tests along the way. Do not expect a linear experience. I promise you, like when you're almost done paying off your debt, you got like $1,000 left to go, your car's gonna break. And you're gonna have to pause. And you're like, this is gonna be my debt-free month. And then you're gonna have to pause. You got to pull money from your emergency fund, fix your car, then you're gonna have to fill the emergency fund back up, and then resume the debt. There's little tests along the way. It's like the universe being like, you sure you want this? Did you learn all the lessons? Do you have good habits now? So just expect the bumps and learn to kind of laugh at them and reframe and be like, well, at least I have money in my emergency fund this time to fix the car. I would have never had that a few years ago. And just learning to be kind of kind to yourself as things go on.
I think that's a really good, very valid point that happens to everybody on their journeys as well. So yeah, it's just a test, and you just rise to it. All right, let's switch over to glimmers. What's your glimmer for this week, Kat?
Well, I often share about my good deals. People who have been listening to our show for a while know I am a secondhand shopper, and I like to share my deals. I had to get a new laptop, and actually my last three um, Macs have all been purchased from Facebook Marketplace, and I got a really good one. I had to go through this is relevant to the topic, because I had to go through all of the different money lessons. Should I put a few $100s through a new computer? Should I try to just limp along with this one that's slowly dying? Is this worth it here, or should I invest it? And I had to go through all the different things, but I'm really excited about it. I feel like it was $1,000 less than it was at the Apple refurbished store, and it's perfect working condition. I feel great about it.
Yeah, it was a really good deal. You always get great deals with it when it comes to stuff. Jealous. My
What's your
glimmer,
glimmer?
my glimmer is my dad.
No.
And it's you never stop being a parent, and I've discovered that many times. But I can't remember if we mentioned this at the beginning or not, but I dislocated my shoulder a few weeks ago, which is why we haven't been in the studio. It's going to seem the same for recording purposes, but I had to go to the hospital. I sat there with my shoulder out for 5 hours, and my dad was there with me. And otherwise I would have been there alone, and that would have been just terrible. And then my dad moved in for several days because I couldn't move my arm for basically a whole week. And he drove me around, took me to my appointments, made me eggs in the morning and everything else. And it was really nice to have
He
him be
also
here.
washed your hair, which was so sweet. He washed your hair in the sink, and I was like,
Yeah.
when's the last time you washed Andrew's hair in the sink? When he was a little baby? And he's like, I think so.
Yeah, 1 year old probably ish. It's
Yeah.
been it's been almost half a century. Jesus, I'm old. But so that is my glimmer is thanks, Dad. I appreciate everything that you did.
Shout
I
out
want
to Mr. Rick. You're the real
Yeah,
MVP.
exactly. All right, folks, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Hey guys, quick disclaimer. We're podcasters on the internet. If you need to seek professional help, please go see your healthcare professional.